The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Hi, everybody. All right. The Right Side with Doug Billings upon you here for a few moments. Did you happen to catch Schumer this weekend on the news circuit? He was on Face the Nation. He's all buttoned up. He's dead serious. Walls aren't solutions. They're symbols of hate. He's still on that. I couldn't believe it. I had to laugh out loud. I mean, really, Chuck, you're still on the walls are a symbol of hate nonsense? That's the reason you lost the election. That kind of rhetoric, because they can't self-reflect, but I'll get to that in a minute. And I wasn't laughing because it's funny. I was laughing because it's so stupid. Folks, the Communist Socialist Party, formerly known as Democrat, has apparently hired, I mean, I can only guess, but some sort of a performance artist to coach these people, to coach the kooks through a news cycle. I mean, from the multi-million-dollar porta potty parade that we saw over the weekend to members of the liberal hierarchy appearing on the network weekend news shows, replying and talking about the same nonsense about how we must realize that walls represent hate. I mean, I just couldn't believe it. Like, okay, Chuck, here's what else happened. What's your symbol for 200 kids locked in a cattle crate with zip ties? What is that, a hashtag comment on TikTok? Because that's what happened this weekend. Kristi Noem's team found those kids last night in Ohio in a cornfield off I-75. 200 kids saved from human trafficking. Not a peep about that on the mainstream news. Not a peep, because that's the plague that we should be talking about, and it happens. Child trafficking happens in every zip code in this republic. And then, of course, we've got Admiral William Halsey, the Navy admiral who, until yesterday, was commanding the entire Southern Pacific Fleet. He was only in that job for 11 months, and he resigns abruptly over the weekend. Flat out quit, because apparently he can't stomach the body count of illicit drug cartel members who were blowing out of the high seas. So body counts of drug mules, of cartel goons, monsters, and animals? Really? That's what gets him? Is that what really bothers him? Folks, we don't operate a pacifist Navy. We don't operate a Navy that bows to the ridiculousness of the United Nations. We run a Navy, in fact, an entire military operation that swore an oath to defend America no matter what it takes from enemies foreign and domestic. And clearly, in this case, the chaff has separated itself from the wheat. I mean, are we more concerned about taking out a drug cartel boat and who knows how much fentanyl coming into this country than we are leading an effort? I mean, are we going to resign ourselves then to let trafficking continue, trafficking of drugs and of human beings? All of this leads up to the horrific experience of what those toddlers must have gone for. And on the beaches of Cancun, children washing up on the beach with their lungs filled with salt, because those are the kinds of bodies I care about. I want to save lives. And clearly, Admiral Halsey is not meant to be the leader of any of our military operations in this current era and in this time. So Trump didn't flinch. Halsey's resignation was taken, and Trump simply taps the next admiral who's in line, vetting him with Pete Hegseth. So that new admiral ship will sail out tomorrow. He'll be in charge of the South Pacific Fleet. And no press conference, no ribbon cutting, no big deal. Just boom, decision made, go. Yes, sir. And so guess what the Democrats are doing tonight? And I'm not making this up. Fundraising in Napa Valley, okay? Now, I'm not complaining about fundraising, but their invite came across my desk today. And the subject line was wine, wisdom, and the path forward. Oh, and I'm reading it like, are you kidding me? Wisdom? Wine and wisdom? What wisdom are you displaying? How to ignore our Department of Homeland Security? How to prevent ICE from doing its job? How to preventing Americans from being safe? Because that's what they're doing, and they've posted it. Ladies and gentlemen, Mexican drug cartels made $4 billion last year, all from moving kids like they were some sort of Amazon package. $4 billion. Ladies and gentlemen, the radical liberal movement in this country dared to tell you that they are the party of human dignity. Well, we build up human dignity the way that we handle the border. There is dignity in the way that we do business. That is an outrageous lie. What happened at the border, when you understand that no one comes to American soil from the southern border unless they've paid off the cartels, then it begins to become clear to you. Not unless you've seen the work of Steve Slepcevic, my friend in Southern California, who has top-notch equipment, drones, and satellite imagery that show these monsters in action. Not like my friend Kristi Hutcherson, who has gone behind in the lines into Mexico and has films of what they call rape trees. Trees, literal trees with the undergarments of children, women, and boys, for that matter, strewn up in them like trophies. Gruesome, barbaric, medieval. No one came to America unless they dealt with that horror. Ladies and gentlemen, that's not building up human dignity. That's stripping it away with violence. We don't need pacificism. We don't need pacifist admirals. We don't need pacifists. We need to be aggressive. And that's what we're seeing Trump and Pete Hegseth do, the War Department. We voted for a president who puts peace in action through strength. We voted for a president who protects Americans from the drugs and the cartels. I'd rather have President Trump who burns down the auction house than a bunch of liberal senators who would rather toast themselves at a fundraising event over Riesling. One thing, look, you would think, I would think, most people understand the radical liberal hierarchy is getting together at this fundraiser with glasses of scotch on the rocks to reflect on why they lost the last presidential election or why public sentiment seems to be going away from them. You would think that's why they would be gathering, because it's obvious that is what's happening. Why they're bleeding members by the multiple dozens upon dozens of millions of people coming over to our side, the right side, the conservative side. But I don't see any evidence. I don't see any evidence that they know how to self-reflect effectively on any of this. Instead, they're doubling down. It seems as if their hierarchy has made the decision that there's only one course, the course that President Obama set us upon, to continually find a way to fundamentally transform America. And when they say that, mark my words, it's not that they're fundamentally transforming America into a better place by virtue of the infrastructure or better education or furthering our rights of free speech or whatever. No. For them, fundamentally transforming America means stripping away God, providence, and the intent of the founding fathers. That's it. And they have meetings about how to do it. And since they continue to do that, and apparently without any self-awareness, self-evaluation about how we, the people, think about that, I think they're going to continue to lose members and elections. What other conclusion can we draw? This party is no longer the Democrat Party. It is, in fact, the commu-socialist party. They're clearly not a pro-America political party. Folks, evidence of the obvious is sufficient. But ladies and gentlemen, listen, we are in this thing together. Please head over to YouTube and find my channel, Welcome to the Right Side. Subscribe. It's free to subscribe. Don't worry about it. But you'll get updates. And click the red bell over there that sends you a reminder every time I post some new content. You don't get the truth on the legacy media. You get the truth from me. You have for the past 5 years. Welcome to the Right Side over on YouTube. And if I may ask, prayerfully consider heading over to my website, dougbillings.us. And again, prayerfully consider setting up a contribution, a monthly recurring contribution of $5 over on dougbillings.us. That way we can keep the show coming to you, ladies and gentlemen, because we are, believe me, in this thing together. Believe it. For the Republic, ladies and gentlemen. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.